So I was like, grand, yeah, whatever. He says, come on in. So it wouldn't have been a bad thing to go in and sit with someone and kiss them. Like it was that, in my mind's eye, we were getting back together, right? And then he walked over to the chest of drawer and he pulled out a knife about this size. And he said to me, you never gave it to me. He says, but I'm going to take it now.
This is going to hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
When did it end? Like, what happened that it stopped?
I actually told somebody in my family, a cousin I told, and she went and told, I don't know if she told her dad, but she told my other uncle who was very close with her dad. So I was questioned about it. I denied it. And then the person said to me, they kept drumming at me. You told the secret. Why did you tell? So that was my cue to stay the hell away.
Well, did they arrest him?
No. It was brushed under the carpet. It was like I was a liar. I was the liar.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
How? God, thank God. That's one of the. I say a lot of the progression we made as a society, as a global race of people, is not always in a good direction. Mm-hmm. But the fact that victims of childhood sexual abuse are believed now,
yes,
is one of the progresses that are such a good thing.
Yeah,
such a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So you stayed away. How was the rest of your childhood?
Terrible. Oh my God. Terrible.
Tell us another fun story.
Do we have commercial breaks?
I just missed me. No, it's like I met a boy. I was dating a boy for about a year, and he was always trying it on. At this stage, I was 15.
Of course, he's always trying to get it in.
Yeah. 15-year-old boy.
Yeah. I wasn't having a bar of it though. I just wasn't. And he used to embarrass me. He'd always for some reason I always used to wear white. I have no clue, but he used to call me as virgin and white in front of people. And it was embarrassing, because you didn't know where to look. You're mortified, especially in old Ireland. It was like, in them days, it was, it's not like what it is now. People didn't talk about sex, right? So, I went out with him for about a year, and then we broke up. And then he called me, and where I lived, so it's hard to explain. So I lived near the airport. And as I said, we were like 3 little rows of cottages in the middle of an industrial estate. Right, so there was all factories built the whole way around it. And then when you walked up, you had Santry Stadium, which is the national sports stadium. And at the back of that was all like what you would call the ghetto, right? It was a place called Ballymun. And it was rough. If you thought you were poor, the people in Ballymun were worse, way worse off than you were.
Poorer.
Yeah, right. So, but it was drugs and it was alcohol and it was a horrible place. It was all high-rise buildings and it was ugly. And so I broke up with him, and then one day he called me and he said, can you come over? And I was like, sure, yeah. I said, what's up? And he was like, I want to get back together and la 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 la. So me being me, skips on over walks up. I'll never forget, it was a November night, freezing cold, and it's not cool to wear a coat, right? So I had like 3 jumpers on. I was layering. And off up I went, and I met him. And he had a pit bull, a bull mastiff. Is that what the one with the big nose?
Bull mastiff.
Bull mastiff.
Yeah, bull mastiff. Yeah.
He had one of them with him, and it was his friend's dog. But his friend lived in one of the high-rise buildings, and he was minding his place for him and looking after the dog. So he said, "Come on." He said, "When you walk up, I have to go feed the dog." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." So we were talking. Everything seemed normal, and then we went into. It was the 14th floor of a tower called Joseph Plunkett Tower in Ballymun. And we walked in, and it was a dingy little place. And I remember the door right in front was the bedroom. The door was open, and there was nothing but a mattress on the floor and like a chest of drawers in the corner with a mirror on top. And there was like a butcher's belt across the top of it. And he says, "Oh, this is my friend's place. He's a butcher, la 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 la." So I was like, "Grand, yeah, whatever." He says, "Come on in." So it wouldn't have been a bad thing to go in and sit with someone and kiss them. Like it was that, in my mind's eye, we were getting back together, right? And then he walked over to the chest of drawer and he pulled out a knife about this size. And he said to me, he said, you never gave it to me. He says, but I'm going to take it now. And he put the knife to my throat and he got on top of me and he raped me that day. It was pretty shitty.
Yeah,
You
to
know?
say the least.
And that it didn't end there. Like, so the dog was barking on the balcony, all the things that go through your mind, right? So I remember him being on top of me. I remember just I could hear every noise around everything. It's weird. It's like you zone out from what he's doing and you're just thinking about what's around you, right? So the dog is outside and it's barking. So he eventually gets up and goes out to the dog. And as he does that, I jump up, pull back up my pants and run out the door. And I'm trying to get down the lift before he came back out. So I gets down the lift and I started to run. I ran from Joseph Plunkett Tower down past Santry Stadium and it was all woodlands. So I'm running past there and next of all, I hear him behind me and he's calling me and he has the dog with him and he set the dog on me.
Wow.
Yeah. He was a
Insult to injury.
yeah. The dog locked onto my arm, and thank God I had the 3 jumpers on because he didn't, he stood there laughing at me, and then he called the dog off. So it was, again, it's like, what in your mind's eye, you're saying, what am I actually doing to have this happen continuously?
Am I like asking for it?
Right.
Am I doing something?
Exactly, right? So it was just, it was horrible.
That is horrible, and I'm sorry that happened to you, because no human being on earth deserves half of what you just described. Nobody. I don't care what, even if you said, hey, come here and brutalize me, still don't deserve it.
No.
Still don't deserve it.
But that wasn't the end of him. Like, it was weird, right? So I told my best friend Anne, and I stayed in her place that night. No, sorry, it was that weekend I stayed in her place, and it was the following weekend. And we were in bed, we were asleep, and next of all, her mom walked in the door and she said, you need to go home. And I was like, why? What's wrong? And she says, oh, your mom wants you or something. David rang, you need to go home. And I was like, okay. And we only lived like 5 doors up. So I ran into the house. And when I ran in, my brother's sitting there drinking and he's sitting there drinking too. And he told my brother that I had slept with him willingly. So my brother was now thinking,
He's mad at you.
Yeah, he's mad at you.
no, he wasn't mad at me. He was like, see, this is the weird thing. He was like, I just heard that you had sex with him. And I was like, I just ran out. I didn't even know where to look, So, and again, in your mind's eye, you're just going to yourself, nobody is going to believe you.
Yeah. Okay.
Nobody is going to believe you,
Didn't believe you the first time.
Exactly. So, you just didn't say it. So eventually I told David, but David, he was a young man. Like he's going around getting his jump on everywhere, right? So he
I like that. That's a much better way to say it, getting his jump on.
Yeah, no kidding.
so
I'm gonna go out and get my jump on tonight.
So but David, at this time, David was, he was smoking hash. Hash was a big deal then. Like you're talking about the 80s, right? Yeah. So it was a big deal then. He was smoking hash and he would blackmail me to give him my pocket money so that, he could go out and buy his 5-spot or whatever. And he used to say that he'd tell me mum that I had sex with thing. And that was that nearly destroyed me because I didn't want her,
So now you're being blackmailed by your own brother
Yeah. Yeah.
over being raped by your brother's friend.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Did it lead to some later unhealthy relationships because of
for
this?
me?
For you? No, for your brother.
he's had many. It did. Well, it did and it didn't. I guess when you've been hurt that much, you tend
It's the only thing you know.
You callous
Yeah, it
too.
was, but it wasn't that you were going around and purposely, sleeping
Seeking
with
out,
people
yeah.
or anything like that. It was you looked for love. All you wanted was affection. You didn't, you know, you wanted genuine love that you weren't getting with your own family. So like your you know, your brother's blackmailing you, your mom is in and out, she's doing her own thing at this stage. Eddie was in and out, they were fighting all the time. You know, and you had your little sister to look after, and it was just a really weird time. So I never really had a serious relationship until things got progressively worse. And that relationship, me entering that relationship, was just looking for comfort, looking for love.
And I imagine the first person to
Showed you that
it's
attention or affection.
game on. Even if it wasn't genuine, you it doesn't matter. It's what you
No,
perceive.
the funny
because
thing,
guys could fake it.
yeah, exactly. It's true though.
What are you,
They
Frank
do it all
Drebin?
the time.
Frank Drebin? I faked every orgasm. It's from a popular movie
I
called
know it.
the Naked Gun. Oh yeah, you're in the police world, so you know the Naked Gun.
I do.
Nice beaver.
So you got married at a young age?
No, I didn't. My life got a little bit worse after my mom. She met an American. He was a pilot, and she was smitten by him. Like she left. Like her and Eddie completely finished because Howard was now her world. So the relationship was going. He was always over in Dublin. He was always flying into Dublin. Yeah. And he then asked her to go to the States. So she did. And she left us on her own for 3 months.
He was an American?
He was an American.
Yeah,
So.
dirty Americans. You can't trust them.
No, right?
Can't trust them.
Watch out for those.
But yeah, so she went over to America for 3 months.
Now your only protection, and what little protection there was, that your only protection from this horror that you've experienced throughout your life is now in another country.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now your only protection there is your brother, who was blackmailing you
Yeah.
to begin with.
And then David was getting so bad, like he was sniffing glue. I found him under a gas bottle. You know, he had sniffed gas and passed out. And he was even aerosol cans. I don't even know what
yeah.
I don't even know what you
Huffing.
do with that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
some
they call
people
it-
I know that used to do that, huffing.
They
You
call it
put-
huffing.
Some people will put paint in a sock and they'll,
Yeah.
Yeah.
do it that way. And I mean, it's not much hiding it
They used to have the gold all.
silver mouth, you know. So
Yeah, it was something about the gold and silver paint
yeah,
that they
I guess
used
it
to
was.
like.
I guess it was better, but yeah, that was the thing. That's a
Yeah.
pretty big thing over here because it freezes your brain.
Yeah.
The aerosol will freeze your brain, give you a little bit of a high.
Yeah.
That's what happened to you. Go ahead.
Maybe a little bit.
Then David got into it with me. We had a fight, and he hit me really bad. Like I was winded for. Oh my God, I was in a lot of pain.
So now you're getting abused by yet another man.
Yeah. So my uncle Johnny, he came over. I called him. Johnny came over and he took me out of the house, and I stayed with him. My sister was already staying with her dad, but David was there on his own. So I would go and do the grocery shopping and give me a list, and I go to the shop, do the shopping. I'm looking at, why is there all this cleaning products? The house was filthy, right? I'm like, why are you asking me for all this? That's when I realized what he was doing with the cleaning products, right? So yeah, so eventually my mom came home. And I can't, do you know what? There's a part of it I don't even know if I purposely blank it out. I don't know. It's just kind of really foggy. But there was times that David tried to slit his wrists twice. And my mom, she used to get herself so drunk that she would shake pills at me, you know, threaten to kill herself all the time. So I would jump out of the bed, run down, knock the pills out of her hand, and just try and stop it, you know. And as time went on, her and Howard split up, sort of. And anyway, she ended up saying that she was going to take the pills. And I said, you know what? Just do it. I said, I'm done. I was a kid. I was like, you know, I had enough. I was between my mom, it was just like, it was horrible. So little did I know, she did take the pills. And I found her that morning. That was horrible. She was on death's door. So that was kind of, Howard had heard that my mum was in that state, so he flew back over from America, and they got back together, and everything seemed okay for a while, and then he asked her to go back to America again. So in doing that, she says, sure. She said, but I'm not happy leaving Amanda here. At this stage, David was in trouble with the police again. He had run over to England, and my sister was with with her dad. So my mum, because we were in social housing, we were in a 3-bedroom house. My mum wanted me to move into this little apartment in Ballymun, in the ghetto. Right, but it was kind of in the nicest part of the ghetto.
The nice part of the ghetto.
The nice part. It's a 1-bedroom place till she got home. And so it was my sister's uncle's girlfriend that we were transferring with. And my mum packed everything up. She went to America that night. And because it was a social house and everybody knew my mum was gone away, everyone who was fighting for that house for their own family on the street. They all went to the house. So a massive fight broke out on the street. And I was thrown into a van, and I was put to Ballymun, back up to the flats again, to a stranger's house. I had never met these people before. They were the girl my mum was supposed to transfer with. It was her cousin, I think. And there was 2 grown men, a woman, and 5 children in a 2-bedroom, grungy, disgusting flat, like. So I was waiting to find out what was going on with our house. To me, I was still going to go to the place we were supposed to move to. And then they came up and they said, no, everything is gone. So they took every belonging that we had, and I don't know what happened to it. No, I had not got a stitch of clothing, nothing. Everything was gone.
It's whatever was on your back.
Everything, but yeah.
You know what, Amanda? We can't do this in one episode.
No.
We cannot
I
do
think
this in
we're
one
gonna-
episode. There's too much here. There's way too much because we haven't even
We
gotten
haven't gotten to the root of everything. yet.
Yeah. We haven't even gotten to the whole reason what you do now. You know,
we didn't get through. I mean, we didn't even get through her suffering. Never mind,
Yeah.
how she came through her suffering.
would you be willing to come back next week so we can finish this up?
Absolutely.
You know, fly back from Ireland for us.
You just go home,
You're
take
lucky I'm here for a bit.
take a nap, come back. We're going to finish this up on the next episode, and we're going to get into this. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast. We're not even going to talk about the stuff that we learned. We learned that Amanda had a really shitty childhood.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's beyond compare. Tune in next week, and you're not gonna want to miss this one because we're going to learn how Amanda comes out of this, because it's a remarkable story. So once again, that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, part 1 of the Suffering of Irish Angel, Amanda Coleman. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Follow the Suffering Podcast. Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And follow Blue Irish Angel on Instagram. And we're going to see you on the next episode of the Suffering Podcast.